Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Sim. This is episode 2. No, we didn't just decide to make this a one-off and not come back to it. We are continuing the series. I am here with Bill again, guest star.
Yellow.
We swear Bill won't always be here, but if Bill's gonna be around, we're happy to have him. So,
I'm gonna try. It just depends on if you want to record at like 2 in the morning or when I'm at work.
yeah, it depends on when I decide to go. I just happen to not record this until another weekend. So, I was gonna record this many different times, and then decided not to. So just didn't happen. Been busy.
I'd rather be here because I'm probably not gonna watch the video to see what you did if I'm not.
Fair enough. I'd probably have to give you a quick rundown on what I did in the meantime. So, but anyways, we are back. We're gonna try to get through as much this first week as possible. We'll see how long things take and how we're feeling as we record. But to start us off, well,
Yeah, some inside baseball. We were ready to go for like half an hour, but we got talking about current AEW, so
yeah,
that kind of delayed us, which might cost SmackDown.
yes, it might. We'll see how things go. But a little rundown as what has happened so far. We booked I booked, I should say, and Bill was was a bystander. There we go. Um, we booked the One Night Stand, ECW One Night Stand 2006. Pretty good show. Made us a shit ton of money because we only had 10 million when we started, so I don't know how we made that much, but I guess it did have
This
a
game seems much more swingy with the money. Like everything costs more than in TEW, but it looks like you make way more too.
yeah, yeah. That's what it seems like so far. I guess we did have a lot of pay-per-view buys, really, almost 2 mil. So I guess that would have helped a decent amount to that. And then there's the live gate, I suppose, and it was a pay-per-view and it was an MSG. So I mean, I guess some of that adds up, but it's still 15 mil plus is quite a lot. But whatever. I won't complain about making money. And then
We sold 1.8 million pay-per-view buys.
yeah, so that's probably what added up.
They just 1.9 million because there's another 50 or one. Yeah, 1.9 million because there's another 15,000 that bought it on Sky Box Office.
Yeah, and that's why we only got popularity uppage in the North America and then Europe. Um, but yeah, so we booked that, and then right away we had people failing the drug tests, and out of all the people that failed drug tests, only 3 got really directly handled to the point that they got suspensions, and that's Crispin Wall, Andrew Martin, which is test, and Sean Morley, that piece of shit Falfinas.
Those were all steroids, weren't they?
They were steroids and or hard drugs.
I thought with hard drugs you tried to send them to rehab.
Yes, you're right. So the ones that failed that way were Just Incredible and somebody else.
Yeah.
Mike Awesome. It was Mike Awesome and Just Incredible
The,
that failed. So these were all steroids, and Mike Awesome and Just Incredible we tried to send to rehab because they failed for steroids and hard drugs, and we wanted to get them help, but they both refused. So now
yeah,
they failed again.
that's one thing that bugs me about the booking games we play. If you try to send them to rehab and they say no, you don't have the option to then suspend them.
Yeah, you should be able to
Because
come back with
I'd really like to be able to give them a rehab or suspension ultimatum. Like, I'll suspend you or I'll send you to rehab.
Yeah.
The only thing we have is like next time they fail, we can tell them to go to rehab instead of just asking them to.
Yeah, we can force them, yeah.
And they may or may not go, but at least then there might be some consequences if they don't.
Yeah. Which will definitely be the approach if it happens again, but
We'll find out when it happens again because I don't trust either of those two to not pop a second time.
yeah, especially
Credible.
yeah, I was about to say especially
That guy
Just
had
Incredible.
some pretty bad drug problems around this time.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I'm actually impressed one guy that didn't fail for us. I'm impressed Perry Saturn came out okay. But yeah.
He was on a date with Moppy when we did the test.
Maybe he just didn't show up, huh? But yeah.
I know it was like a couple of years off, but I got to reference the Moppy
Yeah,
gimmick.
like 5, but anyways, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess it was 2001 was 5 years back from the '06.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to put in that perspective, but yeah. I actually already have Heat through ECW all booked up, so we can run right through these events hypothetically. If we fuck around a little bit, we fuck around, and then we'll see. We'll see what we end up doing today. But let's start off with Sunday Night Heat. Um, there is more than one show. Oh, it's interesting to give us. Obviously, we're gonna do Heat first. Um, we're gonna just start the show, and we'll see what I did as we go through. Half the show, I did auto book the show originally, but then I lost the progress because I was trying to auto book just part of it, and it wouldn't do that. You have to do all or nothing. So half the show the game came up with, and I tweaked some stuff, and then half the show I booked directly. Um, or maybe only one match I booked directly, which is probably obvious when you look at the matches here, but yeah. Anyways, we got Tony Mamaluke versus Nikki, who is future Dolph Ziggler.
And even further in the future, Nick Nemeth, because he's back in not WWE using his real name.
Exactly. He's in Impact New Japan right now, is his main 2 places. He's the global champion for New Japan, which is pretty sick. Especially
Good spots for him, too, because with the roster AEW has, he's not breaking in there, and he's too good to go to somewhere like MLW.
Yeah. Although they might have the money for him now if they wanted them.
They probably have the money for him, but he deserves to be doing more than working in high school gymnasiums.
Yeah. So yeah, Nikki got the win here. I think what my edits were on the auto book stuff was just deciding who won and some of the stuff. But yeah, I figured if we're gonna have this match, we'll give Nikki the win. Only got 1 star, but
Fortunately, Tony Mamaluke seems to not be able to work a 15-minute match. That's a problem.
yeah, Tony Mamaluke is kind of a shitter with the stats he's got. So FBI on ECW might not work.
Might be heading towards jobber status with performances like that.
I think he is literally set to be an enhancement talent. So, and I didn't change that. I don't think so. Yeah. Next up, we got Gunnar Scott versus Christian York. This match is the winner gets their name known. Yeah, I'm sure the crowd.
I agree with the crowd.
Christian York was an ECW original who had got a run in Impact when they were doing the
He's fine. I've seen him wrestle a few times.
whatever that thing was called when they were doing the reality stuff, the reality 5.
Paparazzi Productions or whatever.
No, it was the not. I don't mean that. I mean when they did the. It was like an American Idol wrestling edition where they had the tryout, and then the 3 judges.
I know what you mean. Gut check, yeah.
He won the gut check and got a contract for a bit, and then underperformed.
They never used him because Ric Flair went rogue.
Yeah, and then
he was supposed to lose, and Ric Flair's like, "Fuck it, this kid's good."
And he originally was a teammate for Joey Matthews in ECW too, and ROH for some of the early days.
I mean, he's fine. He's not amazing, but he's not terrible.
Yeah, and then Gunnar Scott was apparently a really good wrestler around this time that came from OVW that they had plans for and then got rid of them, and I figured he had the better upside for me at this moment, so I gave him the win. And
I don't think I've ever seen a Gunnar Scott match or heard the name before.
He was apparently a pretty good technical wrestler, and they had enough plans for him at one point that he was literally going to be on air as Chris Benoit's understudy. And
and I'm sure I know why that never happened.
They dropped it because I don't remember why, but they just dropped it.
I think
they
dropped it in 2007.
No, they were supposed to do this in 2006. But they Benoit probably got different plans or didn't want to do it or something. I don't remember though. It's been a while since I heard that story. Anyways, we got a classic matchup next. We got Rob Conway versus Eugene.
This is very Raw of the era.
It's very Heat of the era.
That too.
I watched some 2006, 2007 heats. They were shit. And Rob Conway was a star on that show.
This might be too good, but 55%.
The game actually had Eugene set the win, but I switched to Rob Conway because he had the more upside for me right at the moment. So, yeah. Surprisingly enough, Rob always had go away heat with me when I was a kid, but he supposedly was a decent worker. So
He was decent. He had a braid of shitty gimmicks,
yeah.
but he was a decent worker.
And then the main event, which is all my all my handiwork. We've got an OVW Spotlight match, which is Tommy Penmanship, otherwise known as Tommaso Ciampa, versus Chris Hero in a 20-minute Iron Man match. Because I want to see how these guys did, and I gave Chris Hero the win because he's higher up the card in OVW right now. And yeah, the best match of the show. Unsurprisingly, it should have been, but I wasn't sure if it would be because of their popularities and being OVW guys. So yeah.
Chris Hero actually got a very slight bit of popularity from it.
Yeah, he did. They all got .04, I think, in their popularities, all the winners in Europe. And at least Tommy didn't lose any. He just stayed still.
That's good, because we don't want to bury Ciampa.
I figure...
I mean, we want to change his name if we ever use him, but we don't want to bury him.
No, exactly. I figured if on any heats that I have to book part of it, where the show doesn't get an auto book that I approve of, I will probably just do a spotlight match for some of the to see how some of my development workers do. So yeah,
makes sense. Unless you have someone like lower mid card that you want to elevate a bit.
That too. So yeah, no popularity changes for the show in general. 53% show rating. That's pretty good.
Of course, there's no popularity changes because there was no good match until the last one, and no one was watching at that point. But they heard about it the next day, so they're like, "Eh, maybe the show was all right."
That was a tape trader match. Like, oh, gotta watch this stuff. Okay, Froze is right in the raw. I'm gonna start the show so you can't read too much yet. So the show starts off with we start off with Edge, Lita, and Mick Foley talking, which did very well, but not as well as the next upcoming parts of the promo, because, well, I guess I need to go into detail, and I didn't write out the details of this one. Some of the promos I wrote out details for, but this wasn't one of them, it looks like. So, everybody got popularity boost that was involved with this at all, but the start of this promo comes out there, all three of them are fucking around a little bit. Mick Foley ends up doing what he kind of did in real life that they didn't really follow through on, but I'm going to because I found it an interesting aspect of their angle, where Mick Foley awards Edge the hardcore title, which we'll give a little behind the scenes on that later, which Bill doesn't know about, but I had to do a little tricky situation to make this work. So the first part of the segment is that happening. Alrighty. Is that happening? And then we had Edge, Lita, and Mick Foley cutting a promo on... They cut a promo on Ric Flair, Terry Funk, Tommy Dreamer, and Beulah all together. Because Lita's talking shit about Beulah since she got involved at One Night Stand. They're both running their mouths about how they put Terry Funk in the ground and then beat the shit out of Tommy Dreamer. Especially since in the match on Sunday they had that brutal spot between Terry Funk and Mick Foley. And then Edge and Mick are both kind of cutting a bit of a promo on Ric Flair. They're like, they're talking about how they want to, since they're such best friends and stuff, and Edge is now hardcore champion. They want to celebrate by having a tag team match tonight, and they want to beat up Ric Flair because screw Ric Flair. And they tell Rick to get any partner of his choice. They doubt he even has any friends at this point to help him out. So, and then Rick comes out and has a verbal exchange with them, which also goes well. And he gets all hyped up in Ric Flair about it and says he'll meet them in the main event.
I'm sure he elbow drops his jacket a bunch.
He probably did. So that's the first segment. Next up, we get a smaller segment. This is one of the things I kind of just threw on the show because I kind of ran out of ideas because I was keeping certain people off this show to an extent. But we got Randy Orton just cut a promo. He's saying he wants to prove that he can beat anybody, any ECW wrestler out there, and that is still in New York after One Night Stand, because this show is also in New York, I forgot to mention. Um, but and his promo goes well. Then Sabu makes his entrance as he's gonna answer the call. Just because I wanted what was probably the best opportunity for a decent match here. So then we go into the match right away with Randy versus Sabu. Does solid. That's good to see. Randy does pick up the win. This was exclusively to give Randy a match on the show here and get some momentum back after losing to Kurt Angle at One Night Stand.
It kind of reminds me of his Legend Killer gimmick from around that time where he's calling people out and then beating them.
Yeah. To be fully honest, I don't have like any direction for Randy Orton right now. So if you're a Randy fan, I apologize in advance if you think my booking of him isn't the greatest for a little bit, but we'll figure something out as we go along.
That's a rough period for Randy.
2006, Randy did not have a good time until near the end of the year when him and Edge got paired together.
Yeah, like they had nothing for him because they had wrapped up the stuff with Evolution and Triple H in 2005, and they hadn't started rated RKO yet, so he kind of was in the position you've got him where he's just floundering because creative doesn't have anything for him yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, one of the random events of the game will cause something to go his way.
Yeah, maybe he'll get lucky, or it might go the opposite way for him and he might get in shit. We'll see. I didn't really love the idea of having Sabu lose, but it's against Randy Orton, so he could take the loss. That was fine for me. Next up, we got Mr. McMahon coming on our screens. Not the best guy to talk about in 2024, but this is 2006, so we're gonna roll with it.
Can't really ignore his prominence in the company at this time.
But this is kind of setting it up for WWE that doesn't need the Mr. McMahon character, because he's talking about his plans to bring back Order to Monday Night Raw with things getting kind of chaotic. ECW's here. There's been there's been people on the Raw show, blah blah blah. He wants to bring Order back to Monday Night Raw, and he says next week he will start his mission to do that, as he will instate a new general manager for the show, which I kind of teased as a possibility near the end of the last episode. So yes, I am going to put a general manager on Monday nights, and Vince is here to do that. So stay tuned.
I mean, I hate general managers, but I hate McMahon shenanigans more, so positive move?
Yeah. Plus, the other two shows have general managers, because I'm going to treat Paul Lee like the general manager of ECW. Paul Heyman, I should say, really, but whatever. And then we have
anyone who's watching a wrestling booking game knows who Paul Lee is.
Yeah. And we've got Teddy Long for SmackDown, so Raw might as well have a general manager, and it can play into some of the brand stuff, because there'll be brand supremacy stuff that comes up at some point.
Yeah, and it is very 2006. They were riding the general manager train hard through the 2010 into the 2010s.
Yeah, this is the period that Raw went without one for quite a while because they got rid of Bischoff. But yeah, so Vince was kind of, he wasn't, I mean, he was just on the show doing shit. And I guess then John...
He was the authority figure on the show. He wasn't called general manager because everyone knew he owned the company.
Yeah,
but he was the general manager.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
So they were still doing it. They just had a different title strapped on them. Next
up, we got a relatively cold match that hopefully went okay. Yeah, it went okay. Shelton Benjamin versus Al Snow here. I just wanted to get Shelton Benjamin to win with a decent worker. So, yeah, that's literally the only story behind this match. I just knew I wanted to get Shelton the match. Just his IC title.
I'm sad to see Al getting a loss, but I can't really complain about it being to Shelton.
Shelton actually had a pretty good 2006, and he's gonna have a pretty good
It was
2006
one
no
of his
matter what.
best years, I think.
Yeah, he
Because
beat
that's when he first went out on his Intercontinental title run, isn't it?
he got a run late in '04 when he won the Taboo Tuesday poll, and they gave him the shock win
Yeah.
over Chris Jericho or whatever.
Yeah, but that was for like 3 days.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It was my
Like his first real run where he actually got to do stuff.
yes. This is essentially his first real run. Um, and he was doing some pretty decent heel work. Mama Benjamin was around. I think she's already gone by this point, which is why I don't have her on the roster.
God, I hope she's gone because that was terrible.
It is pretty terrible at the time in 2006.
He had some
there was
good
a few,
matches during the Mama Benjamin thing.
Yeah,
Because, it's hard to get a bad match out of Shelton Benjamin.
yeah,
But God, that angle was terrible.
yes, it was. And then Shelton was the guy who beat RVD for the IC title before RVD, of course, became the WWE champion and the ECW champion. So he has some pretty good momentum right now, and I'm gonna keep that up. Was made to look like a threat. Nice. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We get a pre-taped promo. John Cena's just in a dark room and he's talking about the actions and what went down Sunday night. Edge interfered in his match, helped cost him the title. RVD has his title, but he plans to get it back. He's a little bit like a brooding figure, a little bit, but he's still relatively positive.
So you could say John Cena's in a dark place right now?
Yeah, you could say that. But he's still.
Sorry, Dan's not into wrestling streams. I have to fill in with the bad puns.
He's still talking relatively positive. He's planning to get his title back. One could say he's planning to get vengeance, because you got to get that pay-per-view pun in there. And
of course, you got to reference that. And then Michael Cole has to explain it to everyone.
yeah, well, thankfully Michael Cole's on SmackDown, so we can have Jerry Lawler instead explain it for us. But yeah, it's a really good segment here. So the best so far of the show.
I mean, Cena has always been a phenomenal talker.
Yeah, it's almost like that boy can talk.
Yeah.
I exclusively, why some of this show seems a little bit thrown together is I exclusively was keeping John Cena out of action on this Raw and wanted this brooding kind of darker, not, still obviously a good guy and talking positively, but I wanted this just John to be in a pre-taped segment. And not
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that not everyone needs to be on every show.
I am too.
Like, this is a good way to use them.
Next up,
especially if you're doing monthly pay-per-views, which WWE is.
Yes, this is.
You don't necessarily want your big stars wrestling every week because you run out of stuff to put on the pay-per-views.
Exactly, and remember, guys, this is 2006. This is the 16 pay-per-view format that they had for that year. So there was some months that had 2 pay-per-views.
Yeah, so you really got to be sparing with top matches.
Keep in mind too, they were also branded pay-per-views besides the big 4. So
that's true, but when you've got 16, it still works out to basically a pay-per-view a month for brand.
Oh yeah, definitely. Next up is a match I just wanted to see this try and steal the show. As we got Shawn Michaels versus Johnny Nitro.
Needs more Harley Cameron.
And Melina's his manager at this time. Still, Melina and Nitro moved to Raw and left Joey on SmackDown alone before they came back together later in the year. Yeah, I mean, just a solid, really good matchup.
Might want to fix that. Johnny Nitro on his own is pretty good, but Joey Mercury on his own has nothing. Yeah, he's a decent wrestler, but no one cared.
Yeah. I definitely need to decide who Joey Mercury's going to be teaming with going forward, because he has 2 options, but yeah. Anyways, we got the match in, and this was also here because I needed to do an after-match angle, including Shawn Michaels, which is the Spirit Squad attacks him. Which, that hurts Shawn a little bit, but oh well, sorry, buddy. I could fin you just...
I think you just took away the popularity gained by beating Johnny.
He lost half of what he just earned, is what he lost.
No, so you didn't even hurt him.
No, technically he still came out
He's
positive.
still net positive.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the This is me following along real life a little bit. The timeline's kind of weird for me at this time, so I think technically this segment already happened in real life by this point. So I'm gonna have to hotshot the DX reunion angle a little bit here, but I want to do the angle where Spirit Squad lays out Sean, and yeah, they
I mean,
use their chair tactics like they did.
yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot more could come from the Spirit Squad than did too, because that gimmick was death. But they're talented wrestlers, like
Yeah, they were all promising and
guys like
talented.
Kenny Dykstra and Nick Nemeth are way better than that gimmick. So
I'll
if you
probably
can get them away from the stereotypical they suck because they're male cheerleaders booking, you could actually get some pretty good stuff out of them.
Yeah, I don't know if they have much life for me as a faction or not, but I'll probably keep all of them around in some capacity.
Yeah,
Because,
not necessarily as a faction. I wouldn't keep them as a faction long term, but
no, in
you could
fact, I
definitely get some good work out of them.
definitely. So yeah, there's that one. Next up, I just need the match for. I'm following the same tactic as I did with HBK. I just needed a match for Kane, and so this was pretty much just an enhancement match for him. And so I just brought up Kevin Matthews from Developmental and let him do the job, so I wasn't hurting anybody on my actual roster. And actually, it got good ratings
What
for what it was.
promotions that Kevin Matthews is from? That doesn't look like OVW.
No, it's not. It's Deep Self, my other Developmental.
Oh, I completely forgot Deep South even existed.
Yeah, it's where Ryder and Hawkins came from.
Yeah, I know about it now that you said it, but I've never seen their logo before.
Yeah. it's it's where Kenny was too when he was in Developmental.
That's right.
And
Omega, not Dykstra.
yeah, Omega, yeah. That's where
I just felt the need to clarify that because we'd just been talking about Kenny Dykstra.
this is where Bill DeMott was being a prick before he got to be a prick in the PC. Uh,
Exactly. Fuck Bill DeMott.
yeah. So Kane gets a nice squash, a little bit of an extended squash really in. Um, and
I mean,
then
you got a good score for a squash match on
I did.
Raw in this time.
And Kevin Matthews didn't even get a popularity loss, so this is a net positive altogether. And Kane got a big boost. That's
I think any popularity loss he could have suffered was outweighed by the fact that he was called up to be on Raw.
yeah, probably. Um, which is a big deal. That's the first time
Yeah,
that's
it's a
happened.
huge deal for developmental talent to be used on the main roster, so it makes sense that he didn't lose any popularity.
Yeah. Then because I can't help myself and have to run this feud for some reason, Imposter Kane ignored that he has a Luke Gallows picture. They didn't have a picture for Imposter Kane. Imposter Kane comes out and attacks this fucker Kane and lays him out. The real Kane, and I had him have an entrance in the segment too. Kane acts a little bit uh, not scared or anything, but he acts a little weirded out when the music hits and everything. And then Kane gets beat the hell up. A small few were offended by the level of violence in this. Oh yeah, I said it the medium. I said it the medium risk for the attack. So it was like Kane was really getting beat the shit out of him. So I
Yeah.
assume the imposter beat him up the stairs a little bit maybe, and then put him through the announce table probably. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also offended by that match, but not because of the level of violence, but because of the level of imposter Kane.
Yeah, that guy. I knew running this feud was gonna give me a little bit of go away heat with Phil, but
Yeah, no, I hated that feud.
it was
The only good that can come out of it is getting Luke Gallows onto the roster in a not Festus role.
yeah, which is my plan. So yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, the end goal is a positive, but unfortunately it means that I have to sit through a bunch of imposter Kane first.
Oh shit. And anyways, it is time for the main event as we get our promised matchup. Um, we've got a good
I thought that
score,
would do better.
but not a good match quality rating, which makes sense considering some of the
You've
feuds
got
in it.
Foley, Flair, and Steamboat in it. You've got like one guy under 40.
Yeah, yeah, that's the Edge was carrying for sure. A masterful, in fact.
Yeah.
um, I put Pat on too to help with the agents, and he's the best agent for Raw. Um, I made this match too long for the people involved, and I knew I did, but it's a Raw main event. It had to be 20 minutes. Actually, it was only 15, and that was pushing it, but still, it had to be at least 15. Um, Foley and Edge, I don't know if it did what it was supposed to. Okay, there it is. I had to scroll down. I had to put the hardcore title on the line in the match to put it on somebody because apparently you can't just put it on somebody for some reason. So that was my workaround to get the title on Edge. Um, Edge and Foley both gained popularity, which is good. Their act is going to be long term for me and not run out in the next couple of months like it did in real life. And I even gave their faction the name of Rated Hardcore because it's 2006 and you gotta do a combined name. So,
I kind of love that, and I'm just hoping Foley's body holds up for it.
yes, Foley is set to be an occasional wrestler too, I think, or he was and I changed it. I don't remember, but whatever. Um, Foley's contract actually comes up in a couple months, so we'll see if he actually screws up my plans that way or not. Um,
Yeah, just quits while the faction's still hot.
yeah, that would suck. I think I had Lita. I don't know if I had Lita interfere in this or not, but she was certainly out there. And Ric Flair's surprise was bringing out the Dragon, Ricky Steamboat. He brought out of retirement and is involved in this match, which I thought would make a cool moment if that had actually played out. So, and I want to pop myself too. And yeah, so
That's definitely popped the hardcores moment because I don't think most of 2006 Raw's audience would have known who Ricky Steamboat was.
probably not. But Jr. would be going crazy in commentary when he's making sense. Just be like, these guys used to
Oh
be
yeah, you would have popped J.R. Hurd.
JR would be going fucking insane, and that's what I was kind of picturing in my head too when I was thinking
Yeah,
of. And to be honest, I didn't really have anybody that could be Rick's partner anyway, so pulling Ricky out was kind of my best call.
it's a great call. It makes perfect sense. It's just funny because in '06 Raw, it would have bombed hard.
I also behind the scenes I may have renegotiated Ricky's contract so he will be an occasional wrestler going forward and not just a staff member. So he might have more use in the future. He's not going to get used all the time, but I had some ideas, so he can have a contract for a little bit and wrestle every so often. Not every week or anything, but every so often he might have a match. And on that note, we will end Monday Night Raw, our first Raw of this run. And we gained popularity in Europe and North America. I need to get more coverage in other places. It's Seaman. 75% share rating, that's good. We can only get up to 80, so solid. And let's end that show. And let me check the time. Okay, I think we'll just do ECW and then we'll end this episode off. Oh, got some pop stuff here. Rossy Ogawa ended up signing with New Japan. Ultimo Gladiator signed with AAA. Disturbia with AAA. Some Mexican.
Yeah, this is all not us stuff.
There's some stuff in the mail for us. April Hunter did end up in Chicago, like she threatened. I did sign a few people in the meantime between these episodes.
Terry Funk retired.
That is regarding that. Terry Funk has retired from the wrestling world.
Again, I mean, Terry Funk has retired many times up to this point.
Summary of Heat and Summer of Raw. We made the same amount of money somehow on those shows, even though
Well, because they're taped at the same time.
Yeah, but they weren't.
It's the same people.
It is
I think this might be.
It's
I think this might be bugged, and they're giving you the attendance twice.
Which is how it should be.
It shouldn't be, because they only bought one ticket. They didn't buy a ticket to Heat and a different ticket to go to Raw.
Yeah, you're right. No, what I meant by it should be is it should be in the same venue, but it wasn't. I had them two. You have to set the venue for each, and I had them in two separate venues. But maybe.
Oh, that's why you're getting paid twice.
It must have been overridden. Maybe I just threw them in the same venue after all. Yeah, because it treats it like two different shows when you're booking, and then I set the venue to two different spots, and it had two different pre-book in there. Um,
So it probably was two different venues. That's what's happening. It thinks it's a different taping, so it sold tickets to both.
yeah, and
When in real life, it would have been Heat would have just been taped before Raw, and it would be the same attendees.
yeah, and it did set and it set it to raw numbers for Heat too, so that's interesting. I don't. I
Yeah, it's probably the game just struggling with the fact that
There's two shows in
those
one
are.
day.
Yeah, it's probably just like this is the best way they could make the database work for it.
Yeah.
But if you tape them in different places, it's not a bug that you got ticket sales twice.
So
It just means you might get an inflated attendance to Heat. But honestly, it's WWE. People would buy tickets to go to just about anything WWE at that time.
yeah. Um, Terry Funk retiring is very interesting. I will definitely be
Hope
looking.
you didn't need him for that Foley Edge storyline going forward. Or
Yeah.
ECW.
Yeah, it's a good thing I didn't just give him a new contract for another year. I totally didn't do that. Um, I'm gonna look at Terry Funk off air and see see if he's a staff member now or if he's like what's going on. But
Retired.
yeah,
His
so
horse got sick and he went back to this, whatever his ranch was called. I'm blanking on it. Double Cross
yeah,
Ranch.
Double Cross Ranch. That's an off-screen issue because I don't want to spoil you guys some of my sign-ins for this run. So we'll check that later. But before we end the episode for today, I think we will do ECW and then we'll end it. As long as you're okay to stick around for ECW.
Yeah, I can stick around for ECW.
Okay. Well,
Especially if you book Terry for it. I want to see what happens.
I did not book Terry, thankfully, because I was in kayfabe. I was keeping him out for a bit, thankfully, after his brutal spot with Mick at One Night Stand. So I guess it's going to be the last time we see him. We'll come back in episode 3 for SmackDown, so stay tuned for that. I'll do more teasing for what's to come in the next episode after we do ECW. But next up is ECW. And we're running it in the First Bank Center in Colorado this time. And let's just start this show. It does show the details on the side for if you write them. Okay, good. This was a big promo, so I wrote details to remind myself exactly what I wanted to be said. The show starts. Paul Heyman comes out. He's cutting a promo about everything, welcoming him back to ECW, but most importantly, he's cutting a promo about the fact that RVD is not only the new WWE champion, but is also ECW champion. RVD is a double champion.
How is Raw that bad at like promo stuff? 68 for a stare down with Tajiri?
During this, Paul Heyman also announces a working relationship with Noah, a working relationship that was agreed to earlier in the week. We've got two matches to decide who will fight for the tag titles next week on this show. The tag titles will be decided next week, but we have the contendership matches on this episode. First episode. This is the opening episode of ECW on SyFy, by the way. And we have the announcement that there will be a dual world title main event, as RVD is going to put his title on the line tonight. RVD comes out to celebrate being a world champion, being a double world champion, in fact, and claims he is the number one guy in all of WWE, and his 2 belts prove it. So he leans heel for a little bit of a second, maybe, but he is a face currently. Heyman does.
I mean, you're throwing him in against Tajiri. It's going to be a very tweener match.
A very tweener match. I kind of wanted RVD to be more the leaning heel because I'm kind of trying to push Tajiri as a face right now. But Heyman says just because RVD is his boy, he isn't going to take it easy on him, and announces he'll defend the 2 world titles in the main event against Tajiri. Tajiri comes out for a stare down with RVD after this, as we can see in all these different parts of the segment. And it got a really good score, which I'm happy about. I had a lot of faith in these guys, and it proved to work out.
All carried you hard in that segment too, though. Like they did all right on their own, but the parts where Paul was talking, it was substantially better.
Yeah, I was very much relying on Paul to make this work for me. The opening match for ECW is I wanted Kurt Angle in a match, so I had Perry Saturn return here. I didn't want Perry to lose in his return, but I was like, it's Kurt Angle, so I can make this work. And they had a really good match, though Perry's stamina isn't the best these days, which makes sense, but I still had them push. And oh yeah,
Unfortunately, the only way you can get actually, I'm not sure with this game, but with TEW, the only way you can improve their stamina is to put them into the red on it.
fair.
Like if you have them wrestle matches that they're comfortable with, they don't get any better at it. So you have to push them if you want them to improve.
That makes sense. And I mean, they did go 18 minutes, and this was set to steal the show, so that steal the show might have been what pushed them over too.
That probably is what pushed him over because Perry should have still had decent stamina in 2006.
Then next up we get Joey Styles like on commentary, and we kind of get like a little lead in being like, we have a bit of a fignet to show you guys tonight, as we have a guy debuting soon for the ECW brand. So let's go to that package now, and we get a video package, a fignet, showing us some highlights. We get like a courtesy of Finn, like WWE has borrowed some tape from like OVW and a couple places that they'd feel a little comfortable to do that with, and
Maybe kissed up to Kerry Silken.
yeah,
Got some ROH footage.
I was gonna allude to that, but I was like, I wasn't sure if I was going to or not. And this was,
I mean, you got 100% on it. It had to have like the dog collar match versus Raven or something in there.
I also did up the, quality of the video package too. I didn't leave it at the default because it's CM Punk, and we're gonna treat CM Punk.
He's gonna be a big deal. Like 06 CM Punk was over when WWE was actively trying to bury him because they wanted to put over the guys Vince perceived as a big star.
Yeah.
So if he actually gets pushed, he's going to be huge.
So of course, excuse me. Video package ends with some nice font that would fit CM Punk saying CM Punk is coming. Next up, we get the Impact players back in action, and I will give you guys some fun behind-the-scenes details on the efforts I've gone through for the ECW Tag Division after we talk about this match. But Lance and Justin got some much-needed popularity boosts, so that's good.
Justin is notably not in rehab.
Yes, notably not in rehab. We tried to push him, but he didn't.
We tried to put him in rehab, but he wouldn't go.
Yeah, Justin actually almost ruined my plans completely for the ECW Tag Division because he was supposed to be in rehab, but he didn't take it. So now they're getting. It didn't ruin my plans because he didn't go to rehab. But if he had gone to rehab, my plans would have been pushed back a little bit. But that's okay. But the Impact players, Lance Storm and Justin Credible, back with Dawn Marie in their corner as well. Face Roadkill and Danny Dorn, a classic ECW team. Danny Dorn does not have a picture in this fucking database for some reason. And not great, but this also wasn't the match I was planning to run originally, so I kind of just had to deal with it. I'm going to go behind the scenes on that after we get through the second tag match. Remember, there's 2 contendership matches to see who will face for the titles next week's show. Next up, we get a sit-down interview with Tommy Dreamer and Beulah. Post One Night Stand. Matt Stryker is actually filling in as my interviewer for this because I didn't feel like Taz or Joey would be appropriate for it. And I was like, let's throw this guy a bone. They talk about the offensive One Night Stand. Edge with a -0, so he didn't actually lose any. Interesting. They talk about Terry and him being injured and hurt. They talk about the dastardly actions of all.
And apparently never coming back now since we know he retired in between you booking this and it actually happening.
Yeah, this is the one part where Terry screwed me over because I did have Tommy directly referencing the offense.
Well, he can still reference it if they put Terry out of wrestling. I mean, that's a pretty good thing to talk about.
I guess that would be the perspective change that I would have to go with on this, is that Tommy probably acknowledges that they don't know if Terry Funk will ever be back. And I guess he won't be. And since this is 2006, I'm sure that Beulah calls Lita a slut. But,
yeah, that definitely happened.
So, yeah. Next up is just the match to pop everybody and make obvious that the working relationship with Noah is legit, as we have Too Cold Scorpio making his return to ECW versus Mitsuharu Misawa. Yes, I want big or go home. um,
Well, if you're gonna get a working relationship, you might as well get as much out of it as possible.
Misawa got a bit of a popularity boost. The match settings were not good for these two. What did I do for this? It was a 20-minute 2 out of 3 falls match is what I did. Um, they got a special
You know what
mention.
your issue probably was? A lot of it was probably.
It's because I said to steal the show. That was my main issue.
I'd also say that probably WWE fans weren't looking for a Noah style match.
That too. And this is what it would have been because I signed Too Cold from Noah. I think it was. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Noah.
and then you gave it a Noah match structure with the 2 out of 3 falls.
Yeah, it was a Noah main event structure, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And a WWE audience wouldn't really know what to do with that.
And I did sign Too Cold Scorpio as the GHC open weight hardcore champion. So I also wanted to give Noah the belt back to also be nice to them. So that's why I got the big name of Misawa. This was me playing ball, and I didn't
Yeah,
want.
they can drop it to someone lower card if they want, but you're giving it to a big star so
Yeah,
that you don't fuck them over.
yeah. So I wasn't gonna have Too Cold losing on his first appearance, but I needed to get that title off him. But I wanted the title to be off him before they stripped him of the title and just gave it to somebody else because I wanted there to be continuity. So yeah, that was me doing that here.
I respect maintaining a lineal title, so.
I try to make sure that
Plus,
players are
it's a banger
comfortable.
match for the tape traders, so you're keeping the ECW, like, hardcore fan base happy.
Yeah. Well,
The casual WWE fans won't get it, but the hardcores that watched original ECW will be marking out for that.
and you'll notice as time goes along too, I'm trying to really keep the vibe of ECW where you can see the best of all different kinds of wrestling in this company, like
Yeah.
the Mexican
Hopefully, you
and
can
the
train
show
the audience
styles.
to appreciate that.
Hopefully, and then the
Because,
Japanese.
once again, not being familiar with pro wrestling sim, but in TEW, it takes a couple of weeks to get the audience used to some of your booking choices.
Yeah,
So you'll usually get lower rated matches the first month or two.
this did surprisingly good considering the poor stuff on
Yeah,
page two
yeah, given what it was, it did excellent.
and the 1-star match quality.
Yeah.
But yeah. Just for shits and giggles, we had C.W. Anderson cutting a backstage interview talking about how he wants a piece of Misawa. Because I'm kind of booking CW as like the ultimate jobber who is kind of entertaining while always getting his ass beat.
He's the Matt Maynard of ECW.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'll take a 50% for this because I didn't really have faith in it. I only gave it 2 minutes, but I wanted to.
It's also CW Anderson.
I
He's
wanted.
not exactly known as a promo.
I booked this for shits and giggles, and there may be some fallout from it.
You're definitely getting the giggles. And hey, if the working relationship works out in a month or two, Misawa can come back and kick the shit out of him.
Yeah. Next up, we got our second contendership. I'll call it the contendership series matchup for the ECW tag titles. Who is going to face the Impact players next week on ECW? We got the full-blooded Italians versus the Mexicools. And the Mexicools went over. Tony Mamaluke didn't lose any, but Nunzio did a little bit. I'm sure Mamaluke didn't because he's an enhancement talent, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, no one cares about him to begin with. I'm pretty sure that's the deal with enhancement talent.
And Super Crazy.
Settings.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the deal, so they don't really get affected like that. And Super Crazy was made to look like a threat, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the Mexicools went over. Next week it'll be the Impact players versus Mexicools.
That would actually be a good match.
Yeah, that's my hope. I actually already have that pre-booked too for next week. That's the one match I pre-booked for next week's shows. Originally, pulling the curtain back, originally the finals weren't going to be as cool as my matchup. This probably worked out for the better, realistically, for match scores and stuff. But originally, I wanted to keep the 5 because these were the 2 losing teams from One Night Stand and that 3-way dance. I was gonna have them both lose tonight, and then eventually they'd have a matchup with the 2 of them, kind of see who was the better team. Type 5. But I was gonna have the Impact players versus Roadkill and Danny Doran, to have Roadkill and Danny get a little bit of momentum. That was gonna be my finals originally, but Psychosis and Super Crazy, actually specifically Psychosis, had issue with losing to the Impact players. So
Fucking Psychosis thinks he's a bigger star than the Impact players.
I had to change my plans, but it kind of worked out for the better because I'm sure that this is going to be a better finals match next week. Then
I think you have the better tournament this way, but the old school ECW fan in me does kind of wish the finals were 2 original ECW teams.
yeah, and I was wanted to give Roadkill and Danny a bit of momentum. And also they were former ECW tag champs, so I would have 2 former ECW tag champ teams going at it too. So
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, this is going to give you a better match quality.
Yeah.
But that one has the nostalgia.
Yeah, that one had the more ECW 5s, I thought, but whatever. It's gonna work out.
I can't complain about the Mexicools getting into the final because despite the horrible gimmick, they were quite good.
Well, and at least this gives them momentum too, they came from SmackDown to ECW. They signed contracts behind the scenes. Are ECW exclusives now. So.
Psychosis is a former ECW guy as well.
Yeah, well, Super Crazy was too. They both were. They just weren't a team.
You're right. Super Crazy was also there, so we still do have the old school ECW feel.
Yeah, because Super Crazy was going crazy with Tajiri and Nunzio, Little Guido, back in the.
That's right. They had the 3 ways. And then I'm thinking like the fantastic Psychosis Rey Mysterio Lucha Rules match they had.
Yeah, that classic. Next up, Paul Heyman's back to talk, so this should be good. As we got the announcement of what's going to go on with the TV title because we already got told that was coming back, and a brand new announcement that there's going to be a women's title for ECW, a first for ECW. They didn't have a women's title back in the day, excuse me. But I'm doing one. Because I want to make a base 2006 women's division. And, so yeah, Paul Heyman reveals how the TV title will be brought back into the fold. We'll also announce an ECW will do something it never did before and have a whole new women's division with a new women's championship. Then, another bit of a shits and giggles segment, but Simon Dean comes out, demanding to be in the TV title tourney so he can win and spread his message of the Simon Dean Matt Fit TM in brackets. Even suggesting that Paul...
Nova!
What?
I said Nova.
Yes, it is Nova, but that's not really acknowledged here, but Joey would Joey would
You've got snarky ECW fans in the crowd. They're all chanting Nova.
They'll all be chanting it, and Joey will allude to it on commentary because he's a cheeky bugger like that.
Yeah, Joey will make cheeky references to it, and the entire audience will chant Hollywood Nova at him.
So he wants to spread his message of the Simon Dean method, TM. Even suggesting that Paul could use going on his program.
Bonus points if he references that it also improves or helps against hair loss.
I wanted to go full shits and giggles with this one.
No, I love that. That's great. Because Nova is an ECW original, and they will use the shitty Simon Dean gimmick to draw heat with the ECW fans.
Exactly. I can't believe they didn't do it in real life, but Sandman then comes
They referenced it in real life, but I don't think Vince would let them actually carry the gimmick because Vince thought it was good.
Yeah, they referenced it on the original 05 show, I think, was when...
Yeah, where Vince didn't have much of a hand in stopping them.
Yeah. Sandman then comes out and lays the obnoxious Simon Dean out. And that was my way of getting Sandman on the show.
You also got the original ECW television feel of Sandman coming out and caning the shit out of random clowns.
Yeah, exactly. Simon Dean is essentially my replacement for the zombie.
Only better.
Only way better. Look at
Simon Dean actually popped people.
Yeah, look at his... Simon Dean must have a pretty good entertainment skill because that 80 is impressive.
Yeah. And I guarantee at some point Styles made a comment about Sandman beating him blue and being a meanie.
Probably. I was honestly pretty happy with myself for coming up with this segment because it was one of my more creative fins I've done so far.
That's so good. I like that.
I figured it would pop you if you saw. I was hoping you'd be here to see this because
Yeah. I almost forgive you for fake Kane.
almost being the keyword.
Yes, that's doing a lot of work right now.
Oh,
It's stretching like it's Big Daddy V's suspenders.
oh God. Oh God. Thank God it's not 2008.
You'll get there. Don't worry.
Anyways, now it's time for our main event. And not to quote Bruce Buffer or anything, but we've got Yoshihiro Tajiri versus Rob Van Dam for both the WWE Championship and ECW World Heavyweight Championship. Remember, I kept the original ECW title with the original lineage, not the new WWE
That's a
version.
banger match.
It is. I did this on purpose. I wanted to send a message on the first episode of ECW. Tajiri was struggling with breath, so that's kind of understandable. He still works today, but he is starting to get to the older side.
And for the time he had been signed with WWE, which at this point is, well, he went away in real life, but presumably he was mostly working WWE.
Yeah,
He was doing like 5-10 minute matches, and so to throw him into a 20-minute match is
true.
kind of a big ask.
True. That's very true. He'd been gone for like a year at this point too, so I don't really know what he was doing between 05 and 06 so much, but
I don't think he was doing much of anything because it was a while before he got a role in Japan, I think.
yeah, I know he ended up having the dream match with Great Muta, which is pretty cool, and some of that stuff he did. That might.
I think he was truly independent at this point. I don't think he was signed with anyone.
I don't think he was. I think he was fully independent, like you're saying. If you haven't noticed throughout this too, because I haven't really been showing who's been agent in these matches or anything, but Dean Malenko carried the workload for this show. For some reason, I lost. I think it was Arn Anderson that was my third. I don't know what. I forgot to check what was going on.
He might be on SmackDown.
I might have just forgotten where I put him, but I had three at one point for ECW, and now I only have Jimmy Snuka and Dean, and Dean's way better. So I've just given Dean most of the matches.
Yeah, I don't see Snuka being a great agent.
And this was a solid main event for ECW, the first episode of ECW, and RVD is going to be a fighting champion, it seems. So, and I did give RVD a special entrance. I gave Misawa a special entrance earlier because it's a pretty big deal, and I gave RVD one since he's coming out as a dual champion for the first time. He won't get a special entrance every time, but his first time coming to a match as dual champion, he can get a special entrance. They cost money when I do them, by the way. They cost like 10,000 each time, so I spent 20,000 on entrances this show. So I
had to pay that pyro bill somehow.
Yeah. So we will end this first episode of ECW. I've enjoyed these shows we've ran through so far. We gained some popularity in North America. I don't even have a European TV deal for ECW. It's only on SyFy in North America, I think. And I'll take a 75 for ECW. The first one especially. That's solid. Our cap is 80. Again, I'm going to say that for a little bit. Our cap is 80 at the moment. That might change in the future as I upgrade more stuff. But yeah, we will end this show and see if we get any messages that are important. This will tell us what we made. Solid. A little less than Raw, but not too much. Anything
I mean,
important?
still $900,000 over the last 2 days is pretty good.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah, nothing there. That's really important. So, on that note, we will end off this second episode. This is actually a solid length episode anyway. We will end this episode off. Tune back in episode 3. We're going to come back with SmackDown. We'll probably get SmackDown, Heat, and Raw done next time. And then the time after that, we might go ECW through Vengeance, probably. So yeah, you know what's coming up. SmackDown, stay tuned. My plans, I'm not going to spoil anything, but SmackDown is going to be a night of title matches. All the titles will be defended, so stay tuned to see who gets title shots and who defends. Maybe will one title change hands, who knows.
We're just getting an early start on Vengeance Night of Champions.
Please no, open wall, you okay? Anyway. So stay tuned for SmackDown for that. See you for what shenanigans take place on an completely auto booked heat because I've left that alone. So the next heat is completely auto booked. And then what will happen on next Monday Night Raw? We have a hardcore champion Edge now. Mick Foley and Edge seem to be in it for the long haul. Team and as best friends, supposedly, allegedly. They are rated hardcore. And what else can I tease? Well, John Cena gained some momentum going into Vengeance. Some much needed momentum after his big loss at One Night Stand. And what will happen following the Spirit Squad's attack on Shawn Michaels? Anyway, that's all the teasers I have for you for next time. Stay tuned. I have some interesting stuff planned, I think. Uh, we'll see if people agree or disagree later. But anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, even share if you'd like to. And anyways, see y'all next time, and peace out.
Have a good one.